Financial freedom is not only for millionaires. Stop doing this and start investing in 2026. The lie that keeps millions financially stuck. What if the biggest obstacle between you and financial freedom isn't your income, your job, or the economy? What if it's an idea you've believed for so long that you've stopped questioning it? Every day, millions of people wake up, go to work, pay their bills, and promise themselves that one day, when they finally earn more money, they will start investing. It sounds reasonable. It even feels responsible. But that single belief has quietly delayed more financial dreams than almost anything else. Think about it. How many times have you heard someone say, "Investing is for wealthy people," or "I'll start when I make more money"? Those words seem harmless, yet they create an invisible barrier that keeps people trapped in the same financial cycle year after year. The longer they wait, the more they convince themselves that financial freedom belongs to someone else. The truth is that wealth is rarely built by waiting for the perfect moment. It is built by making decisions before everything feels perfect. People often imagine that financially successful individuals began with huge salaries, large inheritances, or extraordinary opportunities. In reality, many started with ordinary incomes but developed extraordinary habits. They understood something that most people never realize until it's too late. Financial freedom begins long before your bank account looks impressive. Imagine two people earning the exact same salary. One spends every extra dollar because they believe they deserve to enjoy today. The other sets aside a small portion every month, even if it feels insignificant. At first, their lives appear almost identical. Months later, there is little difference. Even after a year, the gap seems small. But over time, one person is quietly building options while the other is becoming increasingly dependent on their next paycheck. This is the dangerous part about financial mistakes. They rarely look dramatic in the beginning. They look normal. They blend into everyday life until years have passed and the consequences become impossible to ignore. During this video, you will discover why the beliefs that feel the safest are often the ones costing you the most. More importantly, you'll learn how changing the way you think about money can completely transform the way you build wealth, regardless of where you're starting today. Because financial freedom doesn't begin the day you become a millionaire. It begins the day you stop believing that becoming a millionaire is the requirement to start acting like someone who is building wealth. Why your income isn't the real problem. Most people believe that a higher income automatically leads to a better financial life. It sounds logical. If you earn more, you should have more money left at the end of the month. Yet reality tells a very different story. There are people earning modest salaries who consistently grow their savings and investments. At the same time, there are professionals with impressive incomes who feel trapped, stressed, and only one unexpected expense away from financial trouble. The difference isn't always how much money enters their bank account. More often, it's what happens after the money arrives. Money follows habits before it follows ambition. If someone struggles to manage a smaller income, earning more usually doesn't solve the problem. Instead, it often magnifies it. A larger paycheck creates the illusion that there's more room to spend, leading to bigger purchases, more subscriptions, expensive upgrades, and a lifestyle that quietly expands to match every raise. This pattern is so common that many people experience a strange feeling. They receive a promotion they've dreamed about for years, but just a few months later, their financial situation feels almost exactly the same. The excitement fades, the new expenses become permanent, and the sense of freedom never arrives. Imagine trying to fill a bucket with water while there's a hole in the bottom. Pouring in more water may delay the problem for a while, but it never fixes it. Unless the hole is repaired, the bucket will never stay full. Your income is the water. Your financial habits are the bucket. This is why some people continue chasing bigger salaries for decades without ever feeling financially secure. They're trying to solve a behavioral problem with an income solution. But wealth isn't created by how fast money comes in. It's created by how intentionally money stays, grows, and works for you. Every purchase tells a story about your priorities. Every financial decision either strengthens your future or quietly weakens it. The goal isn't to stop enjoying your money. The goal is to make sure your money is building something greater than today's temporary satisfaction. Once you understand that your financial behavior matters more than your paycheck, you stop asking, "How can I earn more?" and begin asking a far more powerful question. How can every dollar I already earn create a better future? That single shift in perspective changes the way you look at every financial decision from this day forward. The invisible tax, draining your wealth. Every month, there is a financial expense that almost nobody includes in a budget because it never arrives as a bill. No company sends you an invoice for it. No bank labels it as a fee. Yet it quietly takes away thousands of dollars over the course of your life. This invisible tax is created by small financial decisions that seem too insignificant to matter. A subscription you forgot to cancel, a meal delivery because cooking feels inconvenient, an impulse purchase that seemed like a reward after a stressful day, a discount that convinced you to buy something you never planned to own. None of these choices feels dangerous on its own. That is exactly why they become so powerful. Imagine a tiny leak in a water tank. One drop means nothing. A few drops go unnoticed. But if the leak continues every day, the tank eventually becomes empty. Your finances work the same way. Wealth is rarely destroyed by one catastrophic decision. It is quietly eroded by hundreds of decisions that never feel important in the moment. Modern life is designed to make spending effortless. With one tap on your phone, almost anything can arrive at your door. Payments are hidden behind digital wallets, automatic renewals, and monthly installments. The easier it becomes to spend, the harder it becomes to notice how much is actually leaving your account. The most dangerous part is that convenience often disguises itself as necessity. You begin believing that every subscription is essential, every upgrade is justified, and every small expense is too minor to question. Before long, your money has been assigned to dozens of commitments before you even decide what truly matters. Financially successful people don't avoid every small pleasure. They simply understand that every recurring expense competes with their future investments. Before spending, they ask a simple question. Will this purchase improve my life for a long time? Or am I buying a moment of satisfaction that will disappear tomorrow? That question changes everything because it forces every dollar to prove its value. Over time, those small decisions create a powerful difference. While one person unknowingly pays the invisible tax every month, another quietly redirects those same dollars into assets that grow year after year. The surprising truth is that most people don't need a dramatic increase in income to begin building wealth. They first need to discover where their money has been silently disappearing all along. Once those invisible leaks are found, every future financial decision becomes stronger than the last. The psychology of feeling rich while becoming poor. One of the greatest financial traps doesn't begin inside your wallet. It begins inside your mind. It starts the moment you confuse the appearance of wealth with actual wealth. In today's world, looking successful has never been easier. Becoming financially free has never required more discipline. Every day, you're surrounded by images of people driving expensive cars, wearing luxury brands, traveling to exotic destinations, and living lifestyles that seem effortless. Your brain naturally compares your life to what you see. Without realizing it, you begin believing that success must be visible. If no one can see it, it doesn't feel real. That belief quietly changes the way people spend money. Instead of asking whether a purchase will improve their future, they ask whether it will improve how others see them today. A newer phone becomes a symbol of status. A more expensive car becomes proof of achievement. A larger house feels like confirmation that life is moving in the right direction. Yet many of these symbols are financed with debt, monthly payments, and financial stress that remain hidden behind the image. Real wealth behaves very differently. It often stays invisible. Investments don't attract attention at a restaurant. An emergency fund isn't something friends admire on social media. Owning shares in businesses or consistently growing your retirement account doesn't generate instant compliments. But those invisible assets create something far more valuable than admiration. They create freedom. Imagine two neighbors. One owns the newest luxury vehicle on the street but worries every month about making the next payment. The other drives an older, reliable car while quietly investing the difference every single month. From the outside, the first appears more successful. Years later, the second has built financial security, multiple investment accounts, and the ability to make life decisions without constant financial pressure. The difference was never the car. It was the mindset behind the purchase. The world often rewards appearances in the short term, but money rewards patience in the long term. Every dollar spent trying to impress others is a dollar that loses the opportunity to work for you. Every dollar invested becomes an employee that never asks for a vacation, never complains, and keeps working while you sleep. The most financially successful people understand a simple truth. They would rather own assets that nobody notices than possessions that everybody admires. The moment you stop measuring success by what people can see, you begin building the kind of wealth that cannot be taken away by trends, opinions, or temporary status. The compound effect works against you before it works for you. When people hear the phrase compound interest, they usually imagine their investments growing year after year. They picture money multiplying almost effortlessly. What most people never realize is that compounding begins long before you invest your first dollar. The question is whether it is building your future or quietly working against you. Every financial habit repeats itself. Every repeated action creates momentum. That momentum becomes a direction, and direction eventually becomes your financial reality. Imagine someone who spends just a small amount every day on purchases they barely remember a week later. The amount seems insignificant. It never feels large enough to create concern. But that money doesn't simply disappear. It also loses every opportunity to grow. Every dollar spent impulsively is a dollar that will never generate returns, earn interest, or become part of your future wealth. Now imagine someone making the opposite decision. They don't have a perfect salary. They don't wait until they feel wealthy. Instead, they consistently invest a modest amount every month. At first, the progress appears almost invisible. The account grows slowly. The results feel ordinary. It may even seem like nothing important is happening. That is exactly how compounding works. In the beginning, its greatest strength is also its greatest weakness. It moves so quietly that many people lose patience before experiencing its true power. They expect dramatic results in a matter of months, when real wealth is built over years of consistent decisions. This same principle applies to debt, unnecessary expenses, and poor financial habits. A balance left unpaid grows. Interest accumulates. Missed opportunities multiply. Small financial mistakes don't stay small when they are repeated. They become heavier with time, making every future decision more difficult than the last. Think of compounding as rolling a snowball down a hill. At the top, it seems almost too small to matter. With every turn, it gathers more snow, becoming larger and heavier. Eventually, it reaches a point where its growth seems almost unstoppable. Financial habits follow the same pattern. The early stages demand patience because the visible results are limited. The later stages reward consistency in ways that surprise even the people who stayed committed. The biggest mistake is believing that today's decisions only affect today. Every financial choice sends a message into your future. It either creates momentum that works for you or momentum that works against you. The remarkable part is that changing your financial future doesn't require one extraordinary decision. It requires ordinary decisions repeated often enough for compounding to take control. By understanding this principle, you stop chasing quick wins and start building something far more valuable. You begin creating a financial life where time becomes your greatest ally instead of your greatest regret. Why most people invest too late. Very few people regret investing too early. Millions regret waiting too long. The strange part is that most people don't postpone investing because they lack opportunities. They postpone it because they believe there will always be a better moment. They tell themselves they'll start after getting a raise, after paying off one more bill, after the economy improves, or after they learn everything there is to know about investing. The perfect moment becomes a destination that keeps moving farther away. Fear disguises itself as responsibility. It whispers that waiting is the safer choice. But in reality, every year spent waiting quietly increases the cost of building wealth. Time is the one resource that no investor can recover once it's gone. Perfectionism creates another invisible obstacle. Many people believe they must choose the perfect investment, predict the perfect market conditions, or understand every financial detail before taking action. As a result, they spend months reading articles, watching videos, and comparing strategies without investing a single dollar. Knowledge grows, but their portfolio remains empty. Imagine someone standing at the edge of a swimming pool on a warm day. They keep waiting for the water to feel completely comfortable before jumping in. Minutes pass, then hours. The truth is that the water never feels perfect from the outside. The only way to adjust is to get in. Investing works the same way. Confidence doesn't appear before action. It grows because of action. Another powerful reason people delay investing is the belief that small amounts don't matter. They assume investing only makes sense when they have thousands of dollars available. That belief prevents countless people from discovering the most valuable habit in personal finance: consistency. Someone who invests a modest amount every month is developing a behavior that becomes stronger with time. Someone who keeps waiting for a larger amount is often strengthening the habit of postponement instead. The financial markets will always experience uncertainty. Interest rates will rise and fall. Headlines will predict crashes and recoveries. Experts will disagree. If you wait for a world without uncertainty, you may spend your entire life waiting. The people who build lasting wealth understand something that others overlook. Success in investing isn't about predicting the future with perfect accuracy. It's about participating consistently while allowing time to do the heavy lifting. They accept that no one can control the market, but everyone can control the decision to begin. One decision separates those who eventually achieve financial freedom from those who only dream about it. One group keeps asking, when is the best time to start? The other quietly answers that question with action, and year after year, that difference becomes impossible to ignore. The wealth gap is built through tiny daily decisions. When people imagine the difference between someone who struggles financially and someone who builds lasting wealth, they often picture one major event. They imagine a lucky investment, a six-figure salary, an inheritance, or the launch of a successful business. While those situations certainly exist, they are rarely the reason most people become financially secure. The true wealth gap is usually created in moments so ordinary that they barely attract attention. It grows every morning, every afternoon, and every evening through decisions that seem too small to matter. Over time, those decisions quietly shape two completely different futures. Imagine two co-workers who earn nearly the same income. They leave the office together every day. One immediately spends whatever money is left after paying bills because they believe they deserve to enjoy the present. The other enjoys life as well, but always sets aside a portion of every paycheck before spending anything else. Neither decision seems life-changing that day. After a week, there is almost no visible difference. Even after several months, both lives appear remarkably similar. Years later, the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. One person has built investments that generate opportunities, confidence, and flexibility. The other has accumulated obligations that require them to keep working simply to maintain their lifestyle. The distance between them wasn't created by one extraordinary choice. It was created by thousands of ordinary ones. This is why financial success often feels invisible while it's happening. The daily habit of preparing meals instead of ordering takeout, choosing to keep a reliable car instead of upgrading too soon, investing first, and spending what remains instead of doing the opposite. Reading about personal finance for a few minutes each day instead of endlessly scrolling through social media. None of these actions creates dramatic results overnight. Together, they create a completely different financial trajectory. Your future is constantly being shaped by what feels normal today. Every repeated decision becomes part of your identity. Someone who consistently makes thoughtful financial choices no longer sees investing as something difficult. It becomes part of who they are. In the same way, someone who repeatedly spends without intention gradually accepts financial stress as a normal part of life. The most powerful financial transformation doesn't happen when your paycheck changes. It happens when your daily standards change. Once your habits begin supporting your long-term goals instead of competing with them, your money starts moving with purpose rather than emotion. At the end of every day, your financial future is not determined by one spectacular decision. It is built by the quiet choices no one applauds, no one notices, and almost no one talks about. Yet those are the choices that eventually separate financial dependence from financial freedom. The freedom formula: cash flow before net worth. Many people become obsessed with one question: how much money do I need before I can feel financially free? It seems like the obvious question to ask, but it points your attention in the wrong direction. Financial freedom doesn't begin with a large net worth. It begins with healthy cash flow. Before wealth can grow, money must first move in the right direction. Think of your finances like a river. If more water flows out than flows in, the river eventually dries up. It doesn't matter how large it once was. On the other hand, when more water consistently flows in than flows out, the river becomes stronger over time. Your financial life follows exactly the same principle. This is why some people who appear wealthy are constantly under pressure. They own expensive homes, luxury vehicles, and impressive possessions, yet every month they rely on their next paycheck just to keep everything running. Their lifestyle has become so expensive that stopping work even for a short period would create immediate financial stress. Now imagine someone whose lifestyle costs much less than their income. Every month, money remains available after essential expenses are covered. Instead of disappearing through unnecessary spending, that surplus is invested into assets that continue generating future value. Over time, those assets begin producing additional income, reducing the person's dependence on active work. That is where real freedom starts to take shape. Many people believe the goal is simply to earn more. But earning more without controlling cash flow is like pouring water into a bucket with a growing hole. The extra income disappears just as quickly as it arrives. Financial security isn't determined by the size of your paycheck. It's determined by the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Every positive cash flow creates possibilities. It builds an emergency fund that protects you during unexpected events. It provides capital for investments that can grow over time. It allows you to make career decisions based on opportunity rather than desperation. Most importantly, it gives you something incredibly valuable that money alone cannot buy: options. When you have healthy cash flow, you no longer feel trapped by every financial decision. You gain the ability to think beyond the next bill and begin planning for the next decade. That shift changes not only your finances, but also your confidence, your peace of mind, and your relationship with money itself. People often chase a large net worth because they believe it represents freedom. In reality, freedom begins much earlier. It begins the moment your money starts working with intention instead of disappearing without direction. Once that happens, every month becomes another step toward a future where your financial choices are driven by purpose rather than pressure. The financial habits nobody sees. When people look at someone who has achieved financial freedom, they usually notice the visible results. They see the comfortable lifestyle, the confidence, the ability to travel, the flexibility to choose how they spend their time. What they almost never see are the quiet habits that made those results possible. The truth is that wealth is built in private long before it becomes visible in public. No one applauds the person who decides not to upgrade their car for another few years. No one celebrates the investor who automatically contributes to their portfolio every month without missing a single payment. No one notices the evenings spent learning about money instead of chasing the next expensive trend. These actions are ordinary. They don't attract attention, yet they create extraordinary outcomes over time. One of the most powerful habits financially successful people develop is separating emotions from financial decisions. They don't buy something simply because they had a stressful day. They don't panic when markets decline. They don't suddenly abandon long-term plans because of dramatic headlines. Instead, they pause, evaluate the situation, and make decisions based on logic rather than temporary feelings. Another invisible habit is learning to delay gratification. Modern society encourages immediate rewards. Everything is designed to be faster, easier, and available instantly, but wealth often rewards the exact opposite behavior. The willingness to wait today creates opportunities that most people cannot imagine tomorrow. Picture someone planting a tree. During the first few years, there is very little to admire. The growth seems slow, and the effort appears greater than the reward. Yet beneath the surface, the roots continue expanding every single day. Eventually, the tree becomes strong enough to provide shade, fruit, and stability for decades. Financial habits work the same way. The results remain hidden while the foundation is being built. Successful investors also understand the importance of protecting their progress. Building wealth is only part of the journey. Preserving it requires discipline. They avoid unnecessary risks, maintain emergency savings, and refuse to let temporary excitement destroy years of careful planning. They know that one impulsive decision can undo months or even years of consistent effort. Perhaps the most overlooked habit of all is patience. In a world obsessed with instant success, patient people often appear to be moving slowly. But while others constantly change direction, chase trends, and search for shortcuts, patient investors continue following a proven path. They trust the process even when the results are not immediately visible. This is why financial success often looks effortless from the outside. The visible rewards are simply the final chapter of thousands of disciplined decisions that no one else ever witnessed. By adopting these quiet habits yourself, you stop focusing on appearing wealthy and start becoming the kind of person who builds lasting wealth from the inside out. Why simplicity beats complexity in investing. One of the biggest reasons people never become investors is surprisingly simple. They believe investing has to be complicated. They imagine endless charts, confusing financial terms, constant market predictions, and professionals watching prices every minute of the day. The more they learn, the more overwhelmed they become. Eventually, they convince themselves that investing is only for experts. That belief has cost ordinary people millions of opportunities. The financial industry often gives the impression that successful investing requires discovering secret strategies or predicting the next big winner. While those stories attract attention, they rarely explain how lasting wealth is actually built. In reality, the greatest advantage most investors can have is consistency, not complexity. Imagine driving across the country using a reliable map. You may not arrive in record time, but if you keep following the route, you eventually reach your destination. Now imagine changing directions every few miles because someone claims to know a faster shortcut. You spend more time turning around than moving forward. This is exactly what happens to investors who constantly chase the latest trend. Every year, new opportunities capture the public's imagination. A different stock becomes the next sensation. A new technology promises unbelievable returns. Social media fills with stories of overnight success. Many people jump from one investment idea to another, hoping to find the perfect opportunity. Instead of building wealth, they build a habit of constantly starting over. Simple investing works because it removes unnecessary decisions. Instead of trying to predict every market movement, disciplined investors focus on principles they can control. They invest consistently. They diversify their investments. They remain patient during periods of uncertainty. Most importantly, they avoid allowing fear and excitement to dictate their actions. Think about building a house. The strongest homes are not built by constantly redesigning the foundation. They are built by placing one solid brick after another until the structure becomes strong enough to withstand storms. Investing follows the same principle. Small, consistent actions repeated over many years often produce stronger results than dramatic decisions made under pressure. There is also a hidden benefit to keeping your investment strategy simple. It gives you peace of mind. When your plan is easy to understand, you are less likely to panic during market declines or become distracted by sensational headlines. Instead of reacting emotionally, you continue following a strategy that has already been designed to succeed over the long term. Many people spend years searching for the perfect investment while ignoring the power of a good investment repeated consistently. The irony is that what appears ordinary today often becomes extraordinary after enough time has passed. Building wealth does not require making investing more complicated. It requires making your decisions more consistent. Once you understand that simplicity is not weakness but discipline in its purest form, you stop chasing financial excitement and start creating financial stability. The cost of constantly restarting. One of the most expensive financial mistakes almost never appears on a bank statement. It doesn't show up as a fee, a tax, or an interest charge, yet it quietly steals years of progress from millions of people. That mistake is constantly starting over. Think about how often people begin with enthusiasm. They create a budget on the first day of the month. They promise to invest regularly. They decide to stop making impulse purchases. For a few weeks, everything goes well. Then an unexpected expense appears, motivation fades, or life simply gets busy. Instead of adjusting the plan, they abandon it completely. A few months later, they start again. Then they stop again. Then they begin once more. Every fresh start feels productive because it creates hope. But hope without consistency produces very little. Progress doesn't come from how many times you begin. It comes from how rarely you quit. Imagine climbing a mountain. Every time you reach the middle of the trail, you decide to return to the bottom and start over because the climb became difficult. You may spend years hiking, but you never reach the summit. Financial goals work exactly the same way. Repeatedly restarting feels like movement, but it prevents meaningful progress. This cycle often begins with unrealistic expectations. People expect immediate results from habits that are designed to produce long-term rewards. When their investment account doesn't grow dramatically after a few months, they lose confidence. When one unexpected purchase disrupts their budget, they believe they have failed. Instead of continuing imperfectly, they stop completely. Financially successful people approach setbacks differently. They don't expect perfection because they know life is unpredictable. A surprise expense, a market decline, or a temporary drop in income doesn't convince them that the plan is broken. It simply reminds them that long-term success requires flexibility as much as discipline. Consider someone training for a marathon. Missing one workout doesn't erase months of preparation. Eating one unhealthy meal doesn't eliminate years of healthy habits. The only real danger comes from believing that one mistake justifies giving up entirely. The same principle applies to your financial life. Every month you remain committed strengthens your financial identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who occasionally saves money and begin seeing yourself as someone who always invests in the future, even when circumstances are less than perfect. That change in identity is far more powerful than temporary bursts of motivation. The people who build lasting wealth are not the ones who never make mistakes. They are the ones who refuse to let mistakes become permanent. They understand that consistency is measured over years, not days. Every time they stumble, they continue from where they are instead of returning to the beginning. The greatest advantage in personal finance isn't avoiding every setback. It's developing the resilience to keep moving forward without losing sight of the destination. Once you master that mindset, your financial progress no longer depends on perfect conditions. It depends on your willingness to keep going. Building wealth without feeling deprived. Many people believe that becoming financially successful requires sacrificing everything that makes life enjoyable. They picture endless budgeting, saying no to every invitation, avoiding vacations, and feeling guilty every time they spend money. It is no surprise that so many people give up before they even begin. The problem is not that they dislike saving money. The problem is that they believe financial discipline and happiness cannot exist together. That belief creates an exhausting cycle. People become highly motivated and decide to cut every unnecessary expense. For a few weeks, they refuse to buy anything enjoyable. They avoid restaurants, entertainment, and even small pleasures that make everyday life feel rewarding. Eventually, the pressure becomes too much. They overspend, feel guilty, and convince themselves that budgeting simply does not work. Real financial freedom is built differently. Think about someone trying to follow an extreme diet. They eliminate every food they enjoy, hoping for fast results. At first, everything feels under control. Then one difficult day arrives, temptation becomes overwhelming, and they eat far more than they ever would have if they had followed a balanced plan from the beginning. The same thing happens with money. Lasting wealth is not created by constantly denying yourself. It is created by spending intentionally. Every dollar should have a purpose. Some dollars are meant to build your future through investing. Others are meant to create experiences, strengthen relationships, and allow you to enjoy the present. The secret is deciding where your money goes before emotions make that decision for you. Financially successful people do not avoid spending. They simply become selective. They spend generously on the things that truly improve their lives and confidently ignore the purchases that exist only to impress other people or satisfy temporary impulses. Imagine two families with the exact same income. One buys whatever feels exciting in the moment and hopes there will be enough left at the end of the month. The other plans ahead, invests first, and then enjoys the remaining money without guilt because every important priority has already been taken care of. Both families spend money, but only one uses spending as a tool instead of allowing spending to become a habit. This approach creates something far more valuable than a growing investment account. It creates peace of mind. You stop feeling trapped between enjoying today and preparing for tomorrow because you understand that both goals can exist at the same time. The purpose of building wealth is not to make life smaller. It is to make your future larger. When your financial plan allows room for both responsibility and enjoyment, discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like freedom. That is the moment when good financial habits become sustainable enough to last for decades instead of just a few weeks. How to make investing your default behavior. Most people think successful investing is powered by motivation. They wait for the day they feel disciplined enough, confident enough, or inspired enough to begin. The problem is that motivation is unpredictable. Some days it feels limitless. Other days it disappears without warning. If your financial future depends on how motivated you feel, your progress will always be uncertain. The people who consistently build wealth understand something different. They don't rely on motivation, they rely on systems. Think about brushing your teeth. You probably don't wake up every morning asking yourself whether you feel motivated to do it. You simply do it because it has become part of your routine. It requires almost no mental effort. Investing can work exactly the same way. Every financial decision demands energy. Each month, if you have to decide whether to invest or spend, your brain begins negotiating with itself. It starts creating excuses. Maybe next month will be better. Maybe you deserve a reward today. Maybe there are more important priorities right now. The more often you repeat this internal debate, the more likely you are to lose it. Now imagine removing that decision altogether. Instead of asking yourself every month whether you should invest, the money is automatically transferred the moment your income arrives. Before you have the chance to spend it, a portion has already been sent toward your future. Suddenly, investing stops being an event. It becomes part of the way your financial life naturally operates. This is one of the most powerful shifts anyone can make because it changes your environment instead of depending on your willpower. Your surroundings influence your financial behavior far more than most people realize. If shopping applications are always within reach, spending becomes effortless. If every advertisement encourages instant gratification, resisting temptation becomes exhausting. But when your financial system is designed to make investing easier than spending, your environment begins working in your favor instead of against you. Imagine trying to eat healthier while your kitchen is filled with junk food. Every meal becomes a battle. Now imagine opening the refrigerator and finding healthy choices already prepared. The decision becomes almost automatic. Money follows the same principle. The easier you make good financial choices, the more often you will make them without thinking. Financially successful people rarely possess extraordinary self-control. They simply remove as many unnecessary decisions as possible. They automate what matters, simplify what feels complicated, and create routines that continue working even when life becomes busy. The ultimate goal is not to become someone who occasionally invests. The goal is to become someone for whom investing feels as natural as paying a bill or saving a contact on your phone. Once your financial habits become automatic, consistency is no longer something you struggle to achieve. It becomes part of your identity, quietly building wealth month after month while your attention is focused on living your life. Your first 12 months can change the next 30 years. People often underestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year and overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 week. That is why so many financial goals fail. Expectations are focused on immediate results instead of long-term transformation. Imagine waking up 1 year from today knowing that every single month you invested consistently, avoided unnecessary debt, controlled your spending, and made decisions with your future in mind. Your bank balance may not make headlines. Your investment portfolio may not look extraordinary to other people, but something much more important will have changed. You will have become a different person. Financial freedom is not built when your account reaches a certain number. It begins the moment your daily actions become aligned with your long-term goals. Every month of discipline strengthens your confidence. Every investment reinforces the belief that you are capable of creating a better future. Every smart financial decision becomes proof that your old habits no longer control your life. This is how lasting transformation happens. Not through one spectacular breakthrough, but through hundreds of ordinary victories that quietly reshape your identity. Think about learning a new language. During the first few weeks, progress feels slow. You forget words, make mistakes, and wonder if your effort is paying off. Then one day, you suddenly realize you can understand conversations that once seemed impossible. The improvement did not happen overnight. It was built through small, consistent actions repeated over time. Money works the same way. The first year is rarely about becoming wealthy. It is about building momentum. Momentum changes everything because it makes each future decision easier than the last. Saving becomes normal. Investing becomes routine. Spending with intention becomes second nature. What once required discipline gradually becomes your default behavior. Now imagine extending that momentum beyond 1 year. 5 years become 10. 10 become 20. The investments you started with modest amounts continue growing. Your experience increases. Your confidence deepens. The habits that once felt difficult become effortless because they have become part of who you are. Many people spend decades waiting for the perfect opportunity to transform their financial lives. They never realize that the opportunity is not hidden somewhere in the future. It begins with the choices they make during the next 12 months. 1 year cannot guarantee financial freedom, but it can create the habits, knowledge, and momentum that make financial freedom increasingly likely with every passing year. The future you dream about is not built by one extraordinary decision. It is built by a year of ordinary decisions made with extraordinary consistency. Financial freedom begins the moment you change your decisions. For most of your life, you may have believed that financial freedom was waiting somewhere in the distance. Perhaps you imagined it would arrive with a bigger paycheck, a better job, a lucky investment, or the perfect opportunity. But after everything we've explored together, one truth should be impossible to ignore. Financial freedom has never been reserved for people with extraordinary incomes. It has always belonged to people who make extraordinary decisions consistently. Every chapter of this journey has pointed to the same idea from a different angle. Your income matters, but your habits matter more. Your investments matter, but your behavior matters even more. Your future is shaped far less by the opportunities you receive than by the decisions you make every single day. The remarkable thing about money is that it doesn't ask where you started. It responds to patterns. It rewards patience, discipline, consistency, and long-term thinking. Those qualities are available to anyone willing to practice them, regardless of their current financial situation. Look back at the person you were before this video began. Perhaps you believed investing required a large amount of money. Perhaps you thought earning more income would automatically solve your financial problems. Perhaps you were waiting for the perfect time to begin. Now ask yourself one simple question. If none of those beliefs were true, what reason would still be keeping you from taking the first step today? The answer to that question has the power to change your life. Years from now, you probably won't remember the exact balance of your bank account today. You won't remember the price of the things you almost bought or the temporary trends that competed for your attention. But you will remember the moment you decided to stop allowing your future to be controlled by hesitation. Because every financially independent person once stood exactly where you are now. They also had doubts. They also had fears. They also wondered whether their small actions could really make a difference. The only difference is that they decided to begin before they felt completely ready. Finally, understand this. Wealth is not a destination reached by a fortunate few. It is the natural result of thousands of intentional decisions made when no one is watching. Every dollar you invest, every unnecessary expense you avoid, every financial habit you improve becomes another vote for the future you want to live. The decision that shapes your financial life is rarely dramatic. It is quiet. It happens when you choose preparation instead of excuses, discipline instead of impulse, and long-term freedom instead of short-term comfort. Your future is already being written by the choices you make today. The only question left is this: what will your next decision say about the life you want to build?